The rain fell like bullets from the black sky. Thunder shook the mountains so hard that Park felt it in his bones. He stood at the window of his small cabin, watching the storm tear through the forest below. He was 58 years old, and his body carried the scars of 30 years of war. A long cut across his left cheek, burns on his hands, a knee that never healed right. He had retired to these mountains 3 years ago, wanting nothing but silence and peace. He got neither tonight. The light came first, a streak of fire cutting through the clouds, too slow to be lightning, too fast to be a plane. Watched it fall toward the eastern ridge, and then the explosion lit up the night. The ground shook, trees snapped somewhere in the distance. Then silence except for the rain. Stood there for a long moment. His mind told him to stay inside, call the authorities, let someone else handle it, but his legs were already moving. He pulled on his old military jacket, grabbed a flashlight, and stepped out into the storm. The hike took him 40 minutes through mud and fallen branches. The rain soaked through his clothes, but he barely noticed. He had walked through worse, much worse. When he finally reached the crash site, he stopped and stared. It was not a plane. It was not anything he had ever seen before. The craft was small, maybe the size of a bus, and shaped like a teardrop. Its metal skin was black and smooth, now cracked and burning in several places. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing faintly blue even through the fire. Had fought aliens during the border wars. He knew their ships. This was not from any species he recognized. He approached carefully, his hand reaching for the knife at his belt. Old habits never died. The ship's side had been torn open by the crash, and smoke poured out from within. He shined his flashlight inside. 2 bodies lay among the wreckage. No, not bodies, children. Climbed inside without thinking. The first girl was older, maybe 12 years old by human standards. She had pale blue skin, silver hair matted with blood, and pointed ears that lay flat against her head. She was unconscious, breathing shallow and weak. The second girl was younger, perhaps 7. Same blue skin, same silver hair, but smaller and more fragile. She was curled against her sister, holding her hand even in sleep. Aliens, alien children. Should have called Earth Defense Command immediately. That was the protocol. Unknown alien contact required military response, but as he reached for his communication device, the older girl opened her eyes. They were gold, bright gold like coins catching sunlight, and they were filled with terror. She screamed and scrambled backward, pulling her little sister behind her. Her small body shook with fear, but she positioned herself between and the younger girl, protecting her. Even now, even hurt and afraid, she was protecting her sister. Had seen that look before. He had seen it in the eyes of refugee children during the war, children who had lost everything and everyone, children who expected only pain from adults. He slowly lowered his hands and knelt down, making himself smaller, less threatening. "I am not going to hurt you," he said quietly. He did not know if she understood his words, but he hoped she understood his tone. The girl said something in a language he did not recognize. Her voice was high and frightened. She clutched her sister. "You are safe," said. "Safe, do you understand? Safe." The girl stared at him for a long moment. Rain poured through the hole in the ship's hull, soaking them all. Finally, something in her golden eyes shifted. Not trust, not yet, but the smallest flicker of hope. Made his decision. He reached out his hand slowly, palm up, an offering. The girl looked at it, then at his face, then at her unconscious sister. She was weighing her options. She had none, and she knew it. After what felt like an eternity, she took his hand. Carried the younger girl in his arms. The older one walked beside him, limping badly but refusing help. The journey back to his cabin took over an hour in the storm. By the time they arrived, the older girl had collapsed twice from exhaustion. Both children were burning with fever. He laid them in his bed and worked through the night. He cleaned their wounds, wrapped their injuries, and kept them warm. He did not know alien medicine, so he used what he knew: water, warmth, care, the basics of keeping something alive. The younger girl woke first, 2 days later. She looked at with wide golden eyes, then looked around the cabin in confusion. When she saw her sister sleeping beside her, still alive, she started to cry. Soft, quiet tears of relief. "Your sister is strong," said from across the room. "She will wake soon." The little girl tilted her head, not understanding. But she did not seem afraid of him. She watched him move around the cabin, cooking simple food, adding wood to the fire. When he brought her soup, she sniffed it carefully before drinking. The older girl woke that evening. Her first instinct was to fight. She grabbed a knife from beside the bed and held it toward with shaking hands. "Where are we?" she demanded. Her Korean was broken, heavily accented but understandable. "Who are you? What do you want?" "My name is Park," he said calmly. "You crashed in the mountains. I brought you to my home. I want nothing from you." Lies, everyone wants something. Looked at her for a long moment. This child had seen too much, lost too much. He recognized the weight she carried because he carried the same weight himself. "What is your name?" he asked. The girl hesitated. Her little sister tugged at her sleeve and whispered something. Finally, the older girl lowered the knife just slightly. "I am," she said. "This is my sister. We are." She stopped, pain crossing her face. "We were princesses of the empire. Our parents were the emperor and empress. They were murdered by traitors. We escaped. They are hunting us." Absorbed this information quietly. Princesses, an empire, assassins. He had wanted a quiet life, and now galactic politics had crashed into his mountain. "You are safe here," he said. "No one knows about this place. No one will find you." "They will find us. They always find us." "Then I will stop them." Stared at him with those golden eyes, searching for lies, for hidden motives. She found none. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you help us? You do not know us." Thought about the question. He thought about his dead wife, taken by cancer 10 years ago. He thought about the soldiers he had lost in battle, young men and women whose faces still haunted his dreams. He thought about the empty years in this cabin, waiting for death to finally catch up with him. He looked at these two children, alone and hunted and afraid, and he found his answer. "Because someone should," he said simply. His hard expression cracked just for a moment. Her little sister smiled at him, a small, fragile smile. And Park, retired soldier man with nothing left to lose, made a silent promise to himself. He would protect these children. No matter what came, no matter who came, he would keep them safe or die trying. The storm continued outside, but inside the cabin something new had begun. Something like hope, something like family. Neither nor the princesses knew that their meeting would trigger events that would shake the galaxy. They did not know that war was coming. They only knew this moment, this warmth, this small cabin in the mountains where 3 lost souls had found each other. And for now, that was enough. 3 months passed like water through fingers. The snow came to the mountains, covering everything in white silence. Park's small cabin became a different place. It became a home. And learned Korean quickly. Children always learned fast, thought, especially children who needed to survive. Within weeks could hold full conversations. Within 2 months, Little was chattering nonstop, asking questions about everything she saw. What is snow? Why do birds fly south? What is that animal called? Can I pet it? Answered every question. He taught them about Earth, about humans, about the mountains and forests around them. In return, they taught him about their people lived on 12 worlds, united under one empire for over 1,000 years. They valued art, music, and knowledge. They were peaceful by nature. That peace had made them weak when the traitors came. Rarely spoke about that night, the night her parents died, but sometimes saw her staring at nothing, her golden eyes dark with memory. He never pushed. He simply stayed nearby, a quiet presence. Sometimes that was enough. Was different. She still carried sadness, but she also carried light. She picked flowers in the forest and put them in cups on the windowsill. She named the birds that came to eat seeds outside. She called one morning, the Korean word for grandfather, and he had to turn away so she would not see his eyes grow wet. He taught them practical things too. How to hide their blue skin with special makeup he ordered from the city, how to wear hats that covered their pointed ears, how to move through the forest without making sound, how to run, how to hide, how to survive. "Why do we need to learn this?" asked one day, practicing her hiding in the snow. Answered before could, "Because the bad people are still looking for us." Small face grew serious. "Will they find us?" Knelt down to her level. "They will try, but I will not let them take you, I promise." Hugged him, her small arms barely reached around his waist. Held her gently, feeling the ice around his heart crack a little more. The first sign of danger came on a cold Tuesday morning. Had gone to the nearest village to buy supplies, a 3-hour walk each way. When he arrived, he found chaos. Police vehicles blocked the main road. Villagers stood in groups, their faces pale with fear. An old woman he sometimes bought vegetables from grabbed his arm. "Did you hear? The family farm 3 valleys over, everyone is dead, burned. The police say it was terrorists, but—" She lowered her voice. "People saw strange lights in the sky that night, strange figures moving through the smoke." His blood went cold. He bought his supplies quickly and returned to the cabin as fast as his old legs could carry him. That night he took out his old military equipment from a locked box under his bed. A rifle he had kept from his service days, pistols, knives, grenades he probably should not have kept. He cleaned each weapon carefully while the girls slept. The hunters had arrived. He did not tell Anne about the farm, but saw the weapons and understood. Her face grew pale, but she did not cry. She simply nodded and began helping him prepare the cabin's defenses. The silent blades came 3 nights later. Heard them before he saw them. A slight disturbance in the snow outside. Footsteps too light for humans, too careful for animals. He woke instantly, years of combat training taking over. He moved to the window and looked out through the darkness. 3 figures stood at the edge of the forest, maybe 50 meters away. They wore black armor that seemed to absorb the moonlight. Their faces were hidden behind smooth masks. They carried weapons unlike anything Earth military used, long and curved like the claws of some predator. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady. He had faced death many times before. He was not afraid of it anymore. He moved to the girl's room and shook awake gently. Her eyes snapped open, instantly alert. "They are here," whispered. 3 of them. Take to the hiding place. Do not come out until I call for you. Do you understand?" His face was white, but she nodded. She woke her sister quietly and led her to the hidden cellar had prepared beneath the kitchen floor, looked at with frightened eyes. "It will be okay," he told her softly. "We'll handle this." He closed the cellar door and covered it with the rug. Then he took his rifle and slipped out the back door into the freezing night. The silent blades were good. They were trained killers, elite assassins who had hunted targets across 100 worlds. But they were not hunting a target tonight. They were hunting Park, and Park was something they had never faced before. He was a human who had nothing left to lose, except 2 little girls who called him grandfather. Moved through the forest like a ghost. He knew every tree, every rock, every shadow. He had walked these paths 1,000 times. This was his ground, his territory, and he would defend it with everything he had. The first assassin died without a sound. His knife found his throat from behind, cutting through the gap in his armor. The body fell into the snow, black blood spreading in the moonlight. The second assassin heard something and turned. His rifle cracked once. The bullet caught the assassin in the face, shattering his mask. He dropped like a puppet with cut strings. The third assassin was fast, faster than anything had ever seen. He spun and fired his alien weapon. A beam of hot light cut through the air, missing by centimeters. Rolled, came up firing, missed. The assassin closed the distance in a heartbeat, blade swinging for his head. They fought in the snow, brutal and desperate. The assassin was younger, stronger, enhanced by technology did not understand, but was fighting for end. He was fighting for the only thing that mattered to him anymore. He took a cut across his arm deep enough to see bone. He ignored it. He caught the assassin's next strike, twisted, and drove his knife up under the chin, through the brain. The assassin's golden eyes, so similar to the princess's, went dark. Stood in the snow, surrounded by 3 bodies bleeding from a dozen wounds. His breath came in ragged gasps, but he was alive. He was alive, and the girls were safe. He limped back to the cabin and opened the cellar door. Looked up at him, her arms wrapped protectively around. "It is over," said. "They are dead." Stared at him, at the blood covering his clothes, his hands, his face. She had seen violence before, the night her parents died, but this was different. This violence had been done for her, to protect her. "Thank you," she whispered. Helped them out of the cellar, buried her face in his chest, crying softly. He held her with his good arm, ignoring the pain. "More will come," said quietly. "They will send more." "I know," replied. "We need to leave this place." He looked around the cabin one last time. The flowers had picked, now dry in their cups. The books had been reading, the small signs of a life they had built together. Then he looked at the 2 girls who had become his family. "Pack only what you can carry," he said. "We leave at dawn." The cabin had been a sanctuary. Now it was a memory. The war had found them, and there would be no more hiding, only running, only fighting, only surviving. But they would do it together. That was all that mattered. In the distance, beyond the mountains, beyond the sky, a ship received the last transmission from the 3 dead assassins. A location, a confirmation, and then silence. Lord, commander of the Silent Blades, read the report with cold fury. 3 of his best warriors killed by a single human. Impossible, unacceptable. He gathered his remaining forces, 40 of the deadliest killers in the Empire, and set course for Earth. This human would die, the princesses would be captured, and the Silent Blades would have their revenge. The hunt was no longer a hunt, it was a war. The news spread like fire across Earth. 3 alien bodies found in the mountains. An unknown spacecraft destroyed by military teams to prevent panic. And somewhere in the confusion, a retired soldier and 2 children had vanished like smoke. Park moved fast. He knew the roads, the back paths, the forgotten routes that did not appear on any map. He had used them during the border wars to move troops and supplies behind enemy lines. Now he used them to keep 2 alien princesses alive. They traveled by night and hid by day, carried on his back when she grew too tired to walk, never complained, never asked to rest, though her feet bled and her body shook with exhaustion. She was strong, this girl, stronger than she knew. On the 3rd night, made a call he had hoped never to make. Colonel answered on the 2nd ring. His voice was rough with sleep. "Who is this? Do you know what time it is?" "It is." A long pause, then's voice changed, becoming sharp and alert. "Where the hell have you been? There are reports all over the news. Alien bodies in the mountains. The government is losing its mind. Please tell me you are not involved." "I am involved. I need your help, old friend." Told him everything. The crash, the princesses, the assassins, the bodies he had left in the snow. Listened without interrupting, which told how serious the situation was. Always interrupted. "You are asking me to commit treason," said finally. "Hiding alien royalty from our own government. Helping you escape military search teams. This could end my career. This could end my life." "I know. I would not ask if there was another way." Another long pause. Could hear breathing, thinking, weighing his options. Then quietly he laughed. "You always did make my life complicated, Commander. Where are you?" "Heading south, toward mountain. There is an old bunker there from the war, abandoned now. We can hide there while you arrange transport off the planet." Off the planet, that is impossible. Every port is being watched. Every shuttle is being scanned. After those bodies were found, Earth defense locked down everything. Then make it possible. You are always good at impossible things. Sighed, I will see what I can do. Stay hidden. Stay safe. I will contact you when I have something. The call ended. Looked at and huddled together under a thermal blanket. They were watching him with their golden eyes. A friend is going to help us, he said. Can we trust him? Asked. Thought about, they had served together for 15 years. They had saved each other's lives more times than either could count. Had held his hand when his wife died. Had carried him drunk out of bars when the grief became too heavy. Yes, said, we can trust him. But trust would not be enough, not for what was coming. Far above Earth, ships gathered. Warships, sleek and silver, emerged from faster-than-light travel and took position near the moon. There were 6 of them, each carrying enough weapons to glass a continent. The people of Earth looked up at their night sky and saw new stars that moved too slowly to be natural. Regent broadcast his message across all frequencies. His face appeared on every screen on Earth, cold and beautiful and terrifying. He wore robes of black and gold, and his eyes were the same golden color as the princess's, though his held no warmth. People of Earth, he said, his voice smooth as poison. I am regent of the Empire. I come in peace, seeking only justice. 2 dangerous criminals have fled to your world. They are responsible for terrible crimes against our people. I ask respectfully that you surrender them to us. In return, the Empire will offer friendship and trade with your world. But if you harbor these criminals, if you protect them from our justice, then there will be consequences. You have 3 Earth days to respond. The transmission ended. Earth erupted into chaos. Politicians argued. Military commanders shouted. The public split into factions, those who wanted to surrender the mysterious criminals and those who refused to give in to alien threats. Nobody knew who the criminals were. Nobody except a small group of people who now faced impossible choices. Earth's Prime Minister called an emergency meeting. Defense commanders, intelligence officers, and diplomats crowded into a secure room beneath the Capitol. Colonel was among them. We should negotiate, one diplomat said. We cannot fight a war with an interstellar empire. We should find these criminals and hand them over. It is the only logical choice. We do not negotiate with threats, a general snapped. This is our planet, our sovereignty. We bow to no one. The argument continued for hours. Sat quietly, his face revealing nothing, his mind racing. He had already begun making arrangements, false documents, bribed shuttle pilots, safe houses, but it would take time they did not have. Meanwhile, and the girls reached Mountain. The bunker was exactly as he remembered, buried deep beneath the earth, forgotten by everyone except those who had fought there. It was cold and dark and smelled of rust and old memories, but it was safe. We wait here, told the girls. Will contact us when everything is ready. But Lord was already on Earth. His shuttle had landed quietly in the mountains, hidden from detection by stealth technology. His 40 assassins spread out across the country, searching, hunting, following every trail. They found the cabin. They found the blood in the snow. And they found a witness, a farmer who had seen an old man and 2 children heading south. Smiled, it was not a pleasant smile. Send word to Regent, he ordered. The princesses are alive, and we have found the human who protects them. On the 3rd day, Regent broadcast again. This time he was not asking. People of Earth, you have chosen to protect criminals. You have chosen to defy the Empire. This is a mistake. I am sending my forces to retrieve what is ours. Any resistance will be met with appropriate response. This is your final warning. Earth's fleet scrambled. Ships that had not seen combat in decades powered up their weapons and moved to intercept. The sky above Earth became crowded with metal and fire. In the bunker, watched the news on a small screen. His face was grim. "This is because of us," whispered. Her voice was heavy with guilt. "All of this, the war, the ships, because we came here." Turned off the screen. He knelt in front of her and took her hands in his. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "This is not your fault. You did not choose to be born a princess. You did not choose to have your parents murdered. You did not choose any of this. The people who did this to you, they are the ones responsible, not you, never you." Tears ran down his face. "But people will die. People die in wars. It is terrible and it is true. But some things are worth fighting for. You are worth fighting for, is worth fighting for. The right to protect the innocent, to stand against tyrants, that is worth fighting for." Climbed into his lap and hugged him. "I do not want you to die." Held her close. "I will try my best not to, but if I do, know that I died protecting the people I love. There is no better death than that." His communication device buzzed. His voice came through, urgent and strained. "They found you. I do not know how, but they know where you are. 40 assassins heading your way. I am coming with everyone I can gather, but I will not arrive in time. You need to hold them off." Closed his eyes. 40 assassins. He was one old man with bad knees and old weapons. The odds were impossible. He opened his eyes and looked at his girls. Then he smiled. "Tell them to hurry," he said. "I will be waiting." He began preparing for the battle of his life. The bunker had been built during the darkest days of the border wars. Its walls were 3 meters of reinforced concrete. Its tunnels stretched deep into the mountain, connecting chambers and passages that had once held 1,000 soldiers. Now it held only one old man and 2 frightened children. Park worked through the night. He placed mines at the main entrance. He rigged grenades with trip wires in the narrow corridors. He positioned his weapons at strategic points, creating kill zones where attackers would be forced to bunch together. He did everything his decades of experience had taught him. It would not be enough. He knew that. 40 elite assassins against 1 retired soldier was not a battle. It was an execution. But every minute he could buy was a minute for to arrive. Every assassin he could take down was one less threat to end. He found the girls in the deepest chamber, the one he had designated as the final safe room. Was checking the pistol he had given her, her hands steady despite her fear. Was drawing pictures on the dusty floor with her finger, trying to stay calm. "You remember what I taught you?" asked. She nodded. "Point at the center of the body. Squeeze the trigger, do not pull. Keep shooting until the target falls." "Good, but only if they get past me. Only as a last resort." "They will not get past you." Her voice was firm, almost defiant. She believed in him. The weight of that belief settled on shoulders like armor. "Whatever happens tonight," he said, "I need you to know something. These months with you and have been the happiest I have known in many years. You gave an old man a reason to live again. Thank you." His golden eyes filled with tears, but she did not let them fall. "We will thank you properly after this is over, after we are safe." Smiled. "I look forward to it." He hugged them both, memorizing the feeling, then walked up to meet his enemies. The silent blades came at midnight. They moved like shadows, 40 figures in black armor flowing through the forest toward the bunker entrance. Lord led them, his silver mask reflecting the moonlight. He was confident. Why would he not be? He had hunted across 100 worlds. He had never failed. Tonight would be different. The first mine exploded as the lead assassins reached the entrance. The blast tore through their formation, killing 3 instantly, wounding 2 more. Before they could react, opened fire from a hidden position above. His rifle cracked again and again, each shot precise, each shot finding its target. 4 more assassins fell before they located him. Shouted orders. His assassins scattered, taking cover, returning fire. Beams of hot light scorched the rocks around his position. He rolled, relocated, fired again. Another kill. But there were too many. They began flanking him, moving through the forest with terrifying speed. was forced to retreat into the bunker just as he had planned. The corridors became a killing ground. Every corner held death. Assassins triggered trip wires and died in explosions of fire and shrapnel. They rushed through doorways and met walls of bullets, moved like a ghost, appearing, killing, vanishing before they could respond. 8 dead, 10, 12. The silent blades had never faced anything like this. They were trained to hunt, to assassinate, to kill silently in the night. They were not trained for war, not for this brutal, close-quarters nightmare where death waited behind every shadow. But adapted. He split his remaining forces into smaller teams. He used his assassins as bait, sacrificing them to draw out position. Slowly, methodically, he pushed deeper into the bunker. Took a wound to his shoulder, then his leg, then his side. He kept fighting. Pain was just information. It told him he was still alive. 20 dead now. 20 assassins who would never hunt again. But 20 more remained and was getting closer to the safe room. Made his stand in the corridor outside the final chamber. He had no more mines, no more grenades, just his rifle, his pistols, and his knives. He waited in the darkness, breathing slowly, listening. They came from both directions at once. Spun, fired, killed 2. He threw his knife and killed a 3rd. Then they were on him, too close for guns, and the fighting became brutal and personal. He broke one assassin's neck with his bare hands. He drove another's own blade through his heart. He took wounds that would have killed a younger man, but he refused to fall. He was the last line of defense. Behind him were 2 children who called him grandfather. He would not fail them. But even he had limits. A blade caught him across the stomach, deep enough to see organs. He stumbled. Another assassin kicked his legs out from under him. He fell to his knees, blood pooling beneath him. Lord stepped forward, removing his silver mask. His face was beautiful and cruel, his golden eyes burning with cold fury. 23 of my best warriors, he said softly, killed by one human. I almost admire you, but this ends now. Tell me where the princesses are and I will make your death quick. Looked up at him and smiled through bloody teeth. Go to hell. Raised his blade, so be it. The shot came from behind. Staggered, a hole appearing in his shoulder. He spun, shocked, and saw Princess standing in the doorway of the safe room, pistol raised, her golden eyes hard as stone. Stay away from my grandfather, she said, and fired again. The second shot caught in the chest. He stumbled back, disbelief on his face. A child, a little princess he had been sent to capture. She had shot him. Moved, despite his wounds, despite the blood loss, he surged up from the floor and threw himself at. They crashed to the ground, struggling. Was stronger, but he was wounded now, slowed. Found his knife and drove it up under his chin, through his brain, just as he had done to the assassin in the snow months ago. Lord, commander of the silent blades, terror of 100 worlds, died with a look of surprise on his beautiful face. The remaining assassins fled. With their leader dead, with more than half their number slain, they ran into the night. They would not get far. Colonel's forces were already landing on the mountain, surrounding the area, hunting them down. But did not see that. He lay on the cold floor, his blood spreading around him, his vision fading. He was so tired. He had fought so hard. Maybe now he could rest. Small hands grabbed his face. His voice screaming his name. His voice begging him to stay awake. He tried to focus on them, on their golden eyes filled with tears. You cannot die, said fiercely. You are not allowed. We need you. I need you. Please, please. Reached up and touched her face. His hand left blood on her blue skin. I am sorry, he whispered. I tried. You did not just try. You won. You beat them. Now you have to stay alive. That is an order. Laughed weakly. You sound like a commander. I'm a princess. Same thing. Arrived then, bursting into the corridor with medics and soldiers. He saw on the floor, saw the blood, saw the bodies of the assassins scattered everywhere. His face went pale. "Get the medics here now," he shouted. "Do not you dare die on me, old friend. I did not come all this way to watch you die." They worked on him right there on the floor. Alien medicine, human medicine, everything they had, drifted in and out of consciousness. He heard voices, felt hands, saw lights. But mostly he saw and holding hands, watching him, refusing to leave his side. "Hold on," whispered, "just hold on." And Park, stubborn and broken and bleeding, decided that maybe death could wait a little longer after all. He had a family now. He was not ready to leave them. The news of Mountain spread across Earth like wildfire. An old soldier defending 2 alien children against 40 assassins. 23 elite killers dead by his hands. A last stand that had become legend overnight. The people of Earth, who had been divided and uncertain, now found their answer. They would not surrender. They would not bow to tyrants who sent assassins to murder children. They would fight. Earth's Prime Minister stood before the cameras and spoke words that would be remembered for generations. "The Regent has demanded we hand over 2 children whose only crime was surviving the murder of their parents. He has sent killers to our world. He has threatened our people. Today, we give him our answer. The children stay. Earth protects its own. And if the Regent wants a war, we will give him one he will never forget." The crowd cheered. Across the world, people cheered. And in a hospital room in Seoul, Park watched the broadcast with and at his bedside. He was wrapped in bandages, connected to machines, barely alive. But he was alive. "They are fighting for us," whispered, her golden eyes wide with wonder. "All these people for us." "For what you represent," said, his voice weak but clear. "Hope, justice, the idea that the strong should protect the weak, not prey on them." Held his hand. She had not left his side since the battle. "We should tell them, the resistance. They need to know we are alive." Looked at her. In the months since they had met, she had changed. She was no longer just a frightened child. She was becoming a leader. He could see it in her eyes, in the way she spoke, in the steel beneath her soft voice. "Then tell them," he said, "it is time." The message went out through secret channels, bouncing across the stars through rebel networks. The princesses lived. The true heirs of the empire had survived, and they were under the protection of humanity. The effect was immediate. Across the 12 worlds of the empire, the resistance rose. People who had been afraid to act suddenly found courage. Military commanders who had secretly opposed now openly declared their loyalty to the true royal bloodline. The usurper's power, built on fear and lies, began to crumble. Regent responded with fury. He sent his fleet to Earth, determined to crush this rebellion at its source. 50 warships, the largest armada ever assembled, descended on the Sol system. They found Earth waiting. Human ships were smaller, older, less advanced, but they were piloted by people who had learned to fight against impossible odds. The border wars had taught them that. Park had taught them that. The Battle of Earth lasted 3 days. Human ships darted through the formations, using tactics the aliens had never seen. They attacked supply lines, disabled engines, boarded enemy vessels. They fought with a ferocity that shocked their opponents. And they were not alone. Rebel ships joined them, turning on their former masters. The alliance that had dreamed of, the unity between humans, and was born in fire and blood. On the 3rd day's flagship exploded. The remaining loyalist ships scattered, leaderless and broken. The Battle of Earth was over. But the war was not finished. Had retreated to the surrounding himself with his remaining forces. He still held power, still commanded armies. To end this, someone would have to remove him. Made her decision. "I have to go," she told one night. He was out of the hospital now, recovering in a small house near Seoul, was asleep in the next room. "The resistance needs a symbol. They need to see me to know that I am real, and I need to face. This is my responsibility." Wanted to argue. He wanted to keep her safe, keep her hidden, keep her forever as the little girl who had called him grandfather. But she was not that girl anymore. She was a leader, a future empress. "Then go," he said quietly, "but promise me you will come back." Hugged him, careful of his still healing wounds. "I promise. You are my family now. I will always come back." She left with Colonel and a fleet of human and ships. The journey to the took 2 weeks. Spent every day watching the news, waiting for word, hopping. The final battle was short. Remaining supporters, seeing the combined fleet, seeing the princess they thought was dead leading the charge, surrendered in droves. Himself was captured trying to flee. He would face justice before the courts. And 14 years old, brilliant and brave, and by all she had endured, was crowned Empress of the in a ceremony broadcast across 2 civilizations. Watched it from Earth with beside him. The little girl had grown too, though she still put flowers in cups and named the birds outside. She would become crown princess, second in line to the throne, but for now she was still his granddaughter in all the ways that mattered. "She looks beautiful," said, watching her sister on the screen. "She looks like an empress," replied. The coronation speech was simple and powerful. Spoke of peace, of unity, of the alliance between humans, and that had saved them all. She spoke of justice for those who had suffered under rule. She spoke of hope for the future. And then she spoke of, "There is a human," she said, her golden eyes finding the camera as if she could see him across the stars, "who taught me the true meaning of courage. He found 2 lost children in the mountains of his world and chose to protect them, not because he had to, but because it was right. He fought impossible odds. He gave everything he had. He showed me that family is not blood. Family is choice. Family is love, and I choose him." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of an empire. "By the authority vested in me as Empress of the, I name Park of Earth as guardian of the twin suns, the highest honor our empire can bestow. I name him grandfather of the royal house, adopted into our family by imperial decree. And I invite him to join us here on our, where he will be honored as the hero he is." Stared at the screen. Was crying and laughing at the same time, hugging him so hard it hurt his healing ribs. "You have to go," she said. You have to see our home." Shook his head slowly, overwhelmed. "I am just an old soldier. I do not need honors or titles." "But we need you," said. "Please come with me." How could he refuse? The journey to the was unlike anything had experienced. The ship was beautiful, filled with light and music. Officials treated him with deep respect, bowing when he passed. He did not know what to do with any of it. But when they landed, when he stepped off the ship onto alien soil for the first time, everything became simple again. Was waiting for him. She wore the robes of an empress now, golden and shining, but her smile was the same. The smile of the frightened girl he had carried out of a crashed ship in the mountains. The smile of the daughter he had never had. She walked to him through the crowd of nobles and officials, ignoring protocol completely. And in front of the entire empire, in front of cameras broadcasting to every world, the empress bowed to a human. The gesture of deepest respect, given freely, given with love. His eyes burned. He reached out and lifted her chin gently. "None of that," he said softly. "Family does not bow to family." Laughed, tears streaming down her face, and hugged him, ran to join them. And Park, retired soldier, guardian of the twin suns, grandfather to an empress, held his girls and cried without shame. The years that followed were busy, ruled wisely, guided by advisors, but always listening to her own heart. She built the alliance with Earth into something permanent, something beautiful. The 2 civilizations learned from each other, grew stronger together. Studied and laughed, and grew into a young woman who combined her sister's strength with her own gentle spirit. She visited Earth often, keeping their connection to the world that had saved them alive. And did what he had always done. He protected, he advised, he loved. He split his time between and his cabin in the mountains of Korea where it all began. The cabin was nicer now, rebuilt and comfortable, but it was still his home. On a quiet evening many years later, sat on his porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and red. His body was old and slow, his hair completely white, his scars faded to silver lines. But his eyes were peaceful. Appeared beside him, appearing suddenly as she sometimes did when she could steal time from her duties. Was with her, holding a basket of food and wine. Said sitting beside him, "You look thoughtful." "I was thinking about that night," he said. "The storm, the crash, how I almost called the authorities and walked away." "Why did you not?" Smiled. "Because you looked at me with those golden eyes and I saw myself, alone, afraid, desperately hoping someone would help." He looked at his granddaughters, at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky, at the universe full of wonder and terror and infinite possibility. "I am glad I stayed," he said quietly. Kissed his cheek, took his hand, and together they watched the night fall, three souls who had found each other in the wreckage of tragedy and built something beautiful from the ruins. A family, a legacy, a story that would be told across two worlds for generations to come. The story of a retired human soldier who found two lost alien princesses in the mountains and changed the galaxy forever.